Hi, welcome back. We are on episode 33. I know we've been away for a little bit, but we're going to be a little bit more consistent in our programming here. So I'm going to let Eve take it away.
Thank you. So in the previous episode, we had the meeting of Yeshua with his mother after 18 years, right?
Right.
And also some discussions about his first teachings in the town of Capernaum.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to continue on that. And basically, after the first day of teaching, Yeshua is aspiring to some solitude and peace, in the beautiful landscape of Palestine. And so he's trying to find a place overlooking the lake, in the mountains, in the hills.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what he does, it's not possible. Because there
Why?
are always people who are following him.
Oh,
He's
okay.
being watched.
Well, he's the light. I mean, he
Yeah,
can't.
he's being monitored and he's being followed, no
Mm-hmm.
matter where he goes,
Mm.
And in fact, Yeshua did a little mistake. He told one of his disciples, Andros, we talked about him last time, who became Andrew in the Bible, where he was going. And Andros had actually gathered a few of his friends. All were fishermen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so there were about 50 people gathered around Yeshua, and there were not a single woman. So Yeshua is asking Andros why there are no women in the group. And for Andros, it's very simple. There is a place for the men and there is a place for the women.
It started a long time ago, didn't?
Yeah. And
Hasn't changed much.
From what Andros had heard the day before, it was strictly the business of men.
Okay.
Women didn't have anything to do with that. So Andros wants to present to Yeshua, some strong guys. And as he has perceived that perhaps Yeshua could rock and change the things which are happening in Palestine, And so everybody is agreeing with that, except Eleazar, the faithful Eleazar, who has a different opinion, a different view on everything. So Yeshua addresses the crowd and tells them, you are of Rome and Babylon at the same time. You are on the wrong path. I came to find you, but you are not understanding me. That's what he tells them.
Wow.
I'm not interested by the man you are, thinking you are, but by your essence. I only see half of you, muscles and sex. Yes, Yeshua had pronounced the forbidden word.
Yeah, I didn't think they even used that word back then.
He said, yes, I repeat, muscles and sexes. And so there is a voice asking Yeshua, what do you really want, Rabbi? I do not understand what you say. And Yeshua returns to them again. I'm saying that you are hiding and that you are others than what you are showing now. It is not your strength that I seek, but your fragile humanity inside you, because your true power is inside it.
Yeah, that essence, right?
That essence, yeah. Fragile scares you, right? You want to leave that word to women, and that is why none of them are here today. Oh, do not shrug your shoulders, Barthélemy. Yes, I know your
really
name.
Called them out.
I know your name, even if you try to hide your face behind a veil. So Yeshua is actually shaking them and telling them, okay, things are not what you think they should be, okay? You cannot do that. And he continues, why is fragility scaring you so much? Because it shows the existence of a heart in you, right? A heart which is not simply a muscle, but a connection to the divine. You're afraid of tenderness and love, and that is why you came today, to hear that. Of course, you're telling the prayers at the required times of the day, and how many times a day, But do you only know the taste of these prayers and the love behind them? Probably not. And it continues, it is painful to enlarge your heart, but I'm asking you, ask a woman if she does not want to give birth to a child because she's afraid to be in pain.
Mm-hmm.
She knows that the multiplication of the species is going through her.
Right.
So she's doing it.
Right. Opening up your heart can be painful.
Can be
right?
painful, and it is painful, yes. Yes, the understanding of love will cause you to suffer and cry during a while. It will be like birthing your true nature and the jewel of the eternal. Are you rejecting all that? So this is what he's telling that group of strong men, And so at one point, there is a big silence in the audience.
Because they're trying to figure out, what does he say?
And Eleazar says, Rabbi, some of us yesterday cried when we received the salt.
Oh.
Remember that from his hands, salt poured out of his palm, right?
Yeah. Well, it's very miraculous, right?
And Yeshua responded to Eleazar, they cried of emotion, my brother. The tears of love have a different color. Love expands and does not exclude. If it was true love, there would be some women today on this hill with us.
Ooh, they got a spanking.
So again, after this discourse, Yeshua feels the life force go through his body, and salt again pours out of his hands. Okay, so he's again ready to distribute all this, And at that point, two swift hands are quick to collect the salt.
Don't let that go to waste.
And so Yeshua asks, what is your name? He probably knows the name already.
Oh,
but he wants the person to say it, And that disciple said, Shimon, I am the brother of Andros and also a fisherman like him. So Yeshua takes a moment and read his soul and know that they have met before. But he also knows that the time has not come for Shimon yet, to take a leadership role. And he remembers that patience is paramount on the path of spiritual realization. So Shimon will play a role later on, but he's not ripe yet for that.
It takes a lot of patience. And determination.
So after that meeting, that took place on a hill around the lake, 2 or 3 days later, a small earthquake near the lake collapses a Roman tower, which was erected in the town of Capharnaum for the Roman emperor. So that tower, maybe it was not properly constructed, whatever. Anyway, it collapsed and So immediately, the Jewish priests in the synagogues are putting the blame on that quake, the blame of that quake on Yeshua.
Oh gosh!
They think it's his fault because Yeshua is starting to irritate some of them with his words, right? The fact that he wants the women to be free, to show their face, and all this stuff, it's not good.
Bad idea.
So some people believe the priest, of course, you have people who are following the priest and others who are not following them. So in this process, Yeshua lost some of his audience, but he also gained a few newcomers.
Right. The ones who probably had questions.
Right, exactly.
Kind of like us.
Yeah.
We have questions.
So some people said, okay, well, that earthquake was interesting, So, and they saw a call in this event and they joined his group. And more women came, audacious, but also very attentive, and they came because of the aura and respect that everybody has for Miriam, the mother of Yeshua, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And so certain disciples are trying to invite Yeshua to their place, to their home, but he always refuses, and he prefers to sleep outside on the beach. Nature has always been his source of strength and energy. So he wants to keep
He wants to stay grounded.
Right. Exactly, yeah.
And peaceful.
And his most faithful disciple, Eleazar, is constantly with him. And actually, Yeshua finds it very touching to see how much Eleazar needs to be loved by Yeshua,
Oh,
by
yeah.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the disciples. Some are known in the Bible, others are not, less famous. Yeah. So the two disciples that we mentioned before are Andros, okay, which will become Andrew later on. Barthélemy, his brother. Then there is this new guy,
Shimon.
Shimon. There is also Philip. And Philip is an interesting case because he's from a very wealthy family, but he's also very shy. So for him, it's a struggle to break with his family and follow Yeshua. He feels like he has to do it, but because of his shyness and his lack of motivation, and sometimes,
or he's probably afraid too, right?
He could be afraid. Yeah. So this is Philip, And then, of course, there is Simon, the previous reincarnation of the author of the books, Miriam, his ex-wife, Esther, and a few others, which
Miriam, his ex-wife.
Yeah, Miriam is actually, what's her name? Anne Givaudan. She was married with...
Oh, you're talking about the author of the book,
the author of the
and
books,
his wife. So
yes.
she was
also
Miriam.
She was
and
Miriam.
He was Simon.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Simon and Miriam. Yeah.
Okay.
Both of them were from the same village where Yeshua grew up, and Simon attended the Carmel School of Mystery, so he's very advanced. Yeah. And Miriam stayed with him for her entire life, and then they moved later on to France.
Oh,
to the country of Gaul at that time. Yeah, and they were both assassinated by the Romans. I mean, I think Miriam died of disease, and Simon was killed by the Romans. Yeah. And sometimes also there is Levi, who is the Roman tax collector. So he's coming occasionally, he's visible, but always very brief visits, I guess. He's probably has too much money to collect and doesn't have time to
sit around and listen to sermons.
And one morning, Miriam, I'm trying to difference between Miriam and Miriam. Miriam, the mother of Yeshua, came one morning with Judas.
I'm trying to see the difference in that. Can you say that again?
Miriam.
How about we just say the wife?
And then, I will always.
I think you should do that because it gets too confusing.
Yeah, most of the time we talk about
why do they all have to have the same names?
Well, because it's a very common name. I know. So Miriam, the mother of Yeshua, comes with Judah, who is her son and also the brother of Yeshua. And Judah is actually as tall as Yeshua, with very, very long hair. Okay. And Yeshua, for Judah, Yeshua has become almost a mythical being, and he can barely remember him before Yeshua's long journey to the east. Because when Yeshua left, Judah was probably 2 or 3 years old. I mean, he was just an infant.
Yeah, he wouldn't have remembered
he could not remember anything. And now suddenly he has this big brother, who is getting so much aura, all his attention, and it's
like, who is this guy?
Yeah. And then later on, among the disciples would be Sarah and Jude, who are respectively the sister and the brother of Yeshua. Okay, so still kids from Miriam, and they will join later. So one night, they're all sitting in Miriam's home, the mother of Yeshua, and Yeshua feels the bitterness and jealousy of his brother Judas. He can feel that there is something wrong, and it is very saddening for him. He would prefer that within his family there is some kind of cohesion,
love and respect and honoring.
Yeah.
I mean, he is older, right? He's a lot older.
And you notice also that besides his mother Miriam, nobody seems to care really about the long trips of Yeshua to the east, and what he learned there and why he was back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, they seem to, okay, well, he was gone, he's back,
Right.
and that's
Nobody
it.
asked
Yeah.
any questions. How was your journey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there is among the group, there is an old uncle of Miriam who happens to be blind. Okay. And his name is Isaac. So he's telling the group that he does not like what he's hearing about Yeshua.
Mm.
He's not hearing good stuff about Yeshua. So he's not very happy about it. And I don't know if this
And what,
story...
is he not in agreement of it, or he just doesn't like what's being said?
Well,
Probably both.
Probably both, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he's totally in agreement, He's
Older guy.
He's very old, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this story is being told in the Bible, but this is, again, according to the memories of nature, the Akashic memory, right? So Yeshua understands that he's not bringing peace in the villages, obviously, but he's also completely detached about what people can say about him.
Mm-hmm.
Again, his former personality, his ego as Yeshua, is no longer here, and the Christic energy is totally now in control of his body and what he says. Okay. So he realized that he cannot discuss or justify himself. It is useless. With most people, you just cannot explain it. He has to show the path and share the love. That's the only way you can truly convince someone who doesn't want to reason.
Right.
You have to show them the path.
Right.
He has to guide them to the light so that their hearts can open and be fulfilled. And it is also important for Yeshua to avoid falling into the traps of delicate and divisive polemics.
Right.
We have to avoid that at any cost. Yeah. So, it's late in the evening, and Yeshua desires to retire and rest. And he touches the feet of his mother before exiting the room. And someone says, "Well, at least all these travels have not made you forget our traditions." Yeah, because the tradition is, in that ancient time, was that before retiring, you would bow in front of your mother or father and touch their feet, and then you would leave the room. Yeah. And Yeshua turns to the person who said that, and he said, "My cousin, not only I did not forget anything, but I gained a lot."
Yeah. So why don't you ask me what I did?
And Yeshua at that point moves toward the blind uncle, and there is a force in Yeshua tells him that that uncle is going to be the catalyst of tonight's teachings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
So Yeshua addresses the old uncle, Isaac, and he goes, "Do you believe in something, Isaac?" And Isaac says, "Well, if I believe in something, how do you dare? Of course I believe in the eternal." And Yeshua responds, "Why do you believe in the eternal?" And Isaac, "You're insulting me now. I read all the scripture, even before you were born, and that is enough for me." And Yeshua responds, "I also read them all, but it was not enough for me. I wanted to feel them in my flesh as well as in my heart." And he's right. There is a difference between absorbing intellectually all this stuff,
right,
and then
feeling it,
living it in your body,
and believing it. Keeping the ego out of the way.
Isaac goes, "Who?" And Yeshua responds, "The eternal, of course, the one that we have to fear." And Isaac goes, but no, there are no more but, Isaac. You have arrived where you should be. Do you want to feel them in your flesh too? And so at that point, the old man does not respond. Yeshua repeats his question, "Do you want to feel it?" And we hear a very weak and feeble answer, "Yes." And so at that point, Yeshua is going to put some saliva on the eyelids of Isaac, and then he places the palm of his hands on his
Oh.
eyes. And Yeshua knows that the miracle has already happened.
Well, isn't that what we're supposed to do? Already know that
Yes.
it's already,
And
whatever we're asking for is already happening.
Why does he know?
Yeah.
It's very simple. The veil inside Isaac had been torn. Not because Yeshua wanted it, but because Isaac had suffered enough, because his infirmity was stalling his soul. That his heart was filled with more love than what he was pretending also. And finally, because Yeshua's souls knew all this. So the fact that all these aspects, all these conditions were gathered, allowed Isaac to regain his eyesight.
Oh, okay.
And Yeshua leans toward Isaac and said, "It is over, my brother. Come back to us." So at that point, Yeshua is going to take a few steps back and he leaves the room, allowing peace and tenderness, to complete the work. And so the night goes. In the morning, Judas, the brother, joins Yeshua to tell him that the old Isaac has recovered his eyesight. His sight. So you can see now. And it was Isaac who basically awakened the whole group as he was exulting and shouting and wanted to share his joy with everybody, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how this story is told in the Bible, or if it's being told, but I mean, this is the way nature recorded it. I think it's important to keep that in mind. And so Yeshua looks at his brother, and Judas is still under shock. He cannot understand what's going on. And Judas asks Yeshua, "What did you do to Isaac with your saliva in your hands? I mean, tell me."
Yeah, I want to know. Show me.
And Yeshua says, "You really want to know, Judas?" And Judas goes, "Yeah, if you have a secret, I want to know it. I want to be able to do the same." And Yeshua says, "The secret? Honestly, just look at me." No, look at me really. Look beyond your eyes. You will know that I simply called the transparency. I invited Hawun, God, in me without the least resistance. Do you understand? There is no secret. I'm not hiding anything. I'm simply unveiling. And Judas goes, "Only the Messiah could speak like this. Do you pretend to be him?"
Well, if he's doing these miracles, maybe.
So Yeshua goes, "I'm not pretending anything, my brother. I am telling you what I am and what runs through me. If the old Isaac started to see, you can also do it. Open your mind." I think that's a point, right? That's the most difficult. We have to open our mind that other things are possible.
Right.
So at that point, Judas cannot handle anything else on that morning, and he respectfully bowed in front of Yeshua, and he runs away from the room. And so, of course, that miracle of Isaac, has been a major point of discussion around the Kinnereth Lake, right? So everybody's talking about it. And as a result, bigger and bigger crowds have started to gather to listen to Yeshua, as you can imagine, right?
Oh, yeah.
And very soon, the center squares of those villages of Bethsaida, Capernaum, Gennesareth are no longer enough. So Yeshua has to find another way of addressing those large crowds.
Yeah.
And he thinks about the nature and the lake. And he asks Eleazar and Andros, the chief of the fishermen, to prepare a boat for him. And what he's going to do is then he's going to board the boat, move away from the shore a little bit, drop the anchor, not too far, and he's going to use the surface of the water as an amplifier to address the crowds
That's smart.
on the shore of the lake, right?
Mhm.
So what you have to picture is those people, are sitting on the beaches,
Yeah, the
on the
beaches,
shores,
yeah.
and then a couple of 100 yards away,
Uh-huh.
Yeshua on his boat, speaking loudly. We know that the Christic energy reinforced his voice,
Mhm.
so he's capable of speaking much louder than he used to.
Louder and probably for a long
Yeah,
time.
and for a long time too.
Mhm.
And so he's using the water, the surface of the water, as a projector. And he's also looking at the crowd who is listening to him, and he's recognized certain individuals. For example, the brother of Andros, a strong man with a very coarse voice, and he's gonna give the name of Shimon Kephras. And so Kephras in Greek means stone, very hard, very strong. And later on, it will be Shimon Pierre, which in French means stone.
No,
Yeah,
too.
and then because it's Pierre, it's going to turn into Shimon Peter later.
Oh, wow.
That's how the names are evolving. Yes.
Names, yeah.
So Shimon Kephras, and we're going to try to keep the original name as much as possible, has a lot of authority among the group of all the followers. So, and because of his very coarse and strong voice, they also listen to him. And so besides the disciples and the people who are interested by the teachings of Yeshua, there are also the local authorities, the Jewish priests. And they're also noticing that things are changing. And they're a little bit alarmed by what they see. They don't like it too much, And Yeshua studied them, and he realized, because again, he can see their aura, he can see their souls, and he can see that they are totally crystallized by the scriptures, and that besides a few rare exceptions, they are not communicating with the divine. No matter what they can say, they are not in connection with the divine. And as such, they are unable to convey anything to their parishioners. And so those priests are called the Pharisee, right? Pharisees, yeah. So they pretend to be the purest among the pure, they can pretend what they want, but
well, maybe they are.
Yeah, and they are a little bit like the monks in Qumran, in the monastery of Qumran. And it's interesting to know that the Pharisees and the monks of Qumran cannot stand each other. You would think that they follow the same scriptures and everything, but no. I mean, they really cannot bear each other. Yeah. And so those Pharisees are inventing divine laws to denigrate each other and to ban the people from their beliefs, okay? And Awon and God is obviously very far away from all this. And so the Pharisees are controlling the synagogues, and they're also by the same time controlling the consciousness of the population. That's how it works, right? And the same was repeated with the Catholic Church later on in Europe in the early days and so forth, right? There is another group, the Sadducees, also, which are limited in their ideas but slightly more open-minded than the Pharisees. And the Sadducees are wealthy for the most part, and they own the most beautiful homes around the lake and in Palestine in general, right? And so sometimes, among the group of people listening to Yeshua, there are small groups of Sadducees who are coming to listen to him, and they are very easily recognizable because they have beautiful clothing and ostentatious necklace. They have a lot of necklace just to show the fact that they are rich and powerful. And they're always sitting either behind the crowds or on the side. They are never mingling with the audience.
They're just observing.
Yeah, they're observing, yeah. And overall, they are instructed. I mean, they have intellectually, they are more advanced than the other ones. They can distinguish the true from the false, and they feel also superior because God gave them money and power, and they feel like it is normal. They deserve it.
Right.
And so multiple times Yeshua is going to try to give them an occasion to speak to the crowd, but they rarely take advantage of that opportunity. Yeah, they rather be silent and just listen
and
on
see
the
what's
side.
going
Yeah,
on.
exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And so, despite this diversity of people, Yeshua loved them all. And behind their rich disguise and the boasting, through the necklace and everything,
Right.
he can see the past that took them where they are, basically due to a mountain of frustration. That's what he sees in their soul. Yeah,
Huh.
I mean, they have become what they are now, but mostly because they had to pay prices for that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they exude.
That doesn't always come easy, right?
No, it
All the
doesn't come
money
easy.
and
Yeah, and they exude
position.
frustration.
Yeah.
Frustration. That's what you can read on them. And the same can be seen also from the poor and the more modest people in the audience. And again, the souls of the poor are not more beautiful or older than the soul of the rich.
Right.
You can see that. And so there is a story in the Bible saying that the poor has a more beautiful soul than the rich, and that the access to the heavens is easier when you are poor. Okay, I think the story says that it's easier for a poor to access the heaven than it is for a camel to go through the eyes of a needle, right? Something like that. Yeah. So that story was never said by Yeshua. I mean, he's insisting in the Memories of Nature that it is not his story. This is a story invented by the Catholic Church. Okay?
Right.
And which has been colported all the way to here. And still being used today in many churches around us. Yeah. So again, that story was never said by Yeshua. Yeshua thinks that poorness or wealth are intrinsically qualities or flaws. Okay, they simply are repetitive tests which are given to us to forge our soul in preparation for something grander. So one lifetime you could be very wealthy. The next lifetime you're going to be poor. Right. And you're going to suffer from that. Okay. And then the next time around you will be again wealthy. Okay. Right. So these are just repetitive tests, to harden you.
To harden you.
Yeah. So Yeshua always insists on and he teaches the simplicity, the absence of deceptions, and the most important for him is to allow the life to flow in the heart, besides anything else, And in addition to all these people, the Sadducees, the Pharisees, and the regular people, there is also, of course, the Romans. We haven't talked about them. The good old Romans, yeah. And at the beginning, it was just a soldier, basically as a sentinel, listening or dreaming about something else. But after a while, the soldier was replaced by a centurion sitting on a horse, And for the Romans, at the beginning, Yeshua is just a sort of rabbi or what they call a dissident priest. Right. They see him as a dissident priest. They even tell that he's some kind of anachorete, an ascetic dude that spent too much time under the sun of the desert. So, somehow
a little crazy.
Yeah, it affected his brain, and he doesn't know what he's saying. So he's not a threat to them because he was only attracting the little people, and who are ignorant and easily controllable by force. So for the Romans, he's saying, okay, well, he's talking just to the lowest level of the population, we don't have anything to worry about him. Right. Yeah. But Yeshua is, however, very aware that he's changing things and he's starting the fuse of the explosive kegs that will happen. Right? It's
been lit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's speaking about love, the love of oneself, which is so important, as the presence of a wound and God is honored inside each individual. And those teachings are revolution, of course.
It's going to get
similar
ugly.
to thunder,
Right.
how was it conceivable at that time that you could love oneself? How could you dare say that? This was scandalous.
It's like, I don't even know if the word love was even used that much.
No,
then. Not
probably
like
not.
today, right?
No.
I mean, we're always saying, love you, and hang
Yeah,
up and
you could
whatever.
only love the divine,
Yeah.
but not you.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, since we are all sparks of divine, why? I mean, if you want to love the divine, you should start by loving yourself.
Right.
So
It's a good start.
Yeshua uses all these teachings, to create what he calls a fermentation. He's putting some ferment in the people, And of course, it's like a yogurt, right? It's going to take a few hours to become a yogurt, right? After you put the ferment in the milk. And it's the same with the audience, right? It's going to take months or years, following days, some Pharisees are coming to see Yeshua and express to him the absurdity and the scandalous ideas of loving oneself, and especially for a woman to unveil her face. That's not possible. It was way too much.
Yeah.
What was Yeshua thinking,
I didn't realize that they covered themselves up. Not like how did they just their face?
Well, normally they would have like a white veil, which is almost from the inside, it's transparent. You can see outside, right? But from a distance, you cannot see it.
Okay.
Yeah. So Yeshua realized that there was no discussion possible, and he's just ignoring all their insults. I mean, those Pharisees, they know better, so they can say whatever they want. And they even physically threaten him. And he reminds him of the murder attempt that he had in India when he was with Master Lamas.
That's right.
So we can send our audience back to the previous episode. We talked about that, And Yeshua is perceived as evil since he wanted to attract women and give them back their freedom and an equal level as men. So, of course, when you try to do that, automatically you are evil.
I don't know why everybody hates women so much. I don't understand.
He's trying to pervert them, right? Yeah. So when he's being said all this stuff by the Pharisees, Yeshua is thinking about his trip to India, and he's thinking about all the beautiful women he saw in India, wearing their tight sari around their body, which does not hide.
And it doesn't hide.
It doesn't hide any of the curves and everything. Yeah, the bellies are, and their hair are free and flowing,
beautiful.
with beautiful hair and everything. Yeah. And they are wearing those bright colors too. Where in Palestine, everybody has the long robe, grayish or brownish.
Like they're
right?
ghosts.
Yeah. And none of the shapes of the body can show. And you cannot show your hair, and the face is to be covered. Yeah. So there is no way that Yeshua could explain this freedom to the Jewish priest or to the Pharisee, right? They would not accept it. So Yeshua was, internally was happy, he was solid, he was balanced, he was in perfect harmony with himself and God. And on the other hand, he could see the Pharisees and the priest, are sad, austere, vengeful, devoid angry, and devoid of that divine spark and of joy. They had none of that. And at the end of the day, Yeshua finds a quiet place in nature to spend the night, and he's hoping that tomorrow will bring something else.
Yeah.
Hopefully better.
Hopefully, yes.
So this is the end of episode 33. We just wanted to give a little bit of an explanation about what he is teaching, the different segment of the population listening to him, and also relate the miracle of Isaac, recovering his eyesight.
Oh, that was a good episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So next time we will talk about the arrest of Yohanan, John the Baptist, when he's being arrested by the Romans. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, stay tuned. That'll be our next episode, and we hope to see you then. Thank you.